Da 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 da, folks. Consecutive weeks of doing box truck talk in the middle of spring. Who would have thought this would have happened? Had enough time today. Shoot over to Dallas. I said, "Hey, box truck talk." He said, "Sure, let's get a guest on," and that guest is. Go ahead and tell him, Dally.
The one, the only, co-OC of Butler Community College, Justin Stolberg.
The Burger, welcome in, man.
Thank you for having me on this well-esteemed show.
First things first. You last draft. You watched last episode. You forgot somebody pretty cool that you knew or that you met. You actually.
So Burger was a bystander of our last.
Yeah, we had a kind of like
we drafted coolest people we've met. Burger was a bystander during the draft. He walked in.
Things. Forgets this guy. Don't know how. Tell him the story. Just like shorten it down. What he did for you, and then what you got out of it.
The guy I forgot was Jerry Rice.
Good Lord.
Don't know how that slipped my mind. Was looking through some old pictures and then realized that I met him with two of my buddies in the deep depths of Starkville, Mississippi at
Go Dogs.
a local watering hole there. And,
At the Waterloo?
Was lucky enough to, get a picture with him and, kind of played it cool and ended up, purchasing a beverage for me. And it was a pretty cool experience.
Why are we keeping this like elementary school?
Yeah. Bought me a bev. What'd he buy you?
I don't know the
demographic. He's ashamed to say that Jerry Rice bought him a Truly.
I was gonna say Truly, or be like, Jerry Rice bought me a Sex on the Beach.
Not quite, just a good old Michelob, but
you bought me what are those called?
Dirty Sanchez. No, I'm kidding.
Dirty that have the olives.
Dirty martini?
Yeah, he bought me a dirty martini. Oh, Jerry.
I like it shaken, not stirred.
Burger. Okay, I've got the song this week.
Yeah. Hey, first of all, this is going to be a fun show because we're going right off the cuff, but we got some good I got some good questions for Burger.
Deal. Here we go. I want to hold them like they do in Texas. Please. Fold them, let them hit me, raise it, baby, stay with me.
Okay, whoa, we didn't describe this to Burger. We didn't tell Burger what this is.
Lyrics of like a well-known
just
song.
In a most monotone voice you possibly can, and we have to guess it.
Guess the song first one to guess
Opening
the song.
segment.
It's a pretty big song. You definitely both will know it.
I know some of the words. I just can't put a name
Love
to it.
game intuition. Play the cards with spades to start. And after he's been hooked, I'll play the one that's on his heart.
Oh, yeah, okay. Katy Perry.
No. Whoa, oh.
Poker Face.
Correct.
Yeah.
Why?
I thought it's not Katy Perry?
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga. What am I? I'm nothing. Yeah.
On technicality,
it's a split. You knew the song first.
Yeah, I don't know why I said Katy Perry.
You're like, the regular lyrics are, oh, but I said no. Whoa.
Oh, yeah, you put that real nice.
XFL real quick. Defenders and Renegades.
Renegades championship next Wednesday, correct?
Ben DiNucci was invited to what camp?
I don't know. I did not see this.
He was invited to someone's camp.
So this will get interesting as they poach from the XFL. It's not really poaching. That's the purpose. It's minor leagues.
Got a really good buddy of mine who plays for the Renegades.
Who?
Was the leading receiver, Javante Payton. Mississippi State alum and also Tennessee Volunteer.
Nice.
Broncos invited Ben DiNucci. That's pretty
believe
cool,
that,
Burger.
Yeah, he was the leading receiver. He's been the leading receiver the last 4 weeks. Last week he had like 6 catches for 150 plus in a tug. 2 tugs.
As Al would say, oh, good for you.
This is for who?
Javante Payton.
Who's
of the
Renegades.
I will be pulling for the
passes from AJ McCarron.
No, AJ McCarron's Battlehawks, homie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's on me. What am I thinking? Dude, he gets screamed at by Bob Stoops.
He does.
Sickest uniforms in the XFL,
nice.
In my opinion.
Nah,
I love the baby blue.
Dragon.
I know you like the Dragons. You're an orange guy. I love the baby blues.
Yeah, baby
blues are a good one.
Baby blues always have my heart.
Yeah.
Next up, also Realm of Sports real quick. This Saturday, going to the Royals game, watching Lorenzo Cain retire as a Royal. Pretty cool.
Nice.
My grandma texted me like some news. It wasn't a leak news or anything like this, but
he's starting.
Ned Yost, Alex Gordon, and Rusty Kuntz will be there. Love those guys.
Makes sense. Got a cool story about Rusty Kuntz one time.
No way.
He used to be the third base coach, right? Mm-hmm. First base. Third base? First base.
He was third.
Okay. Anyway, we are at of all places, in Wichita, Kansas, at a Joann's.
Ooh.
Right after, you know what a Joann's is? It's like a Hobby Lobby.
Okay. Ooh, really?
Yeah.
I kind of thought it
like a fabric store.
I thought it was like more of an Ulta. That's on me.
No, it's like a crafty store.
Cool.
So it was right after they won the World Series. And I don't know if everybody on the team, but I know the coaches for sure got a truck. And their name was on the side of it, said World Champions, whatever.
Sick.
He was in Joann's.
Just him?
No, it was his wife.
Dude, you just said Rusty Coons.
Yep.
Coach of Royals.
Well, it was like all designed up, but it had his name on them.
That's kind of cool. Does he live here or something? Like what? Why are you in Wichita in your personal truck?
Tell you.
What else going on? Anything crazy? We had the draft.
Had the draft last week.
Only craziest thing I would say, I'm not surprised Bijan went top 10. I'm surprised at who took him top 10.
Two things really surprised me. 36 DBs taken.
Yes.
And Berger, correct me if I'm wrong, but 3 punters were drafted?
3 punters or kickers.
Three specialists were drafted.
One was drafted in the third round. If I'm
the
not
third
mistaken.
round?
Yeah, the third round.
One was Justin
That boy
Tucker
better
taken.
It was the third,
never miss a kick.
It was the third or the fourth, and I'm pretty sure I was shocked.
Wasn't it the Patriots?
Yeah, the Patriots took him first. And I was like, geez, wow.
When was Justin Tucker selected? I think he was.
I think he was the fifth round guy.
Maybe. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Just keeping on live action sports right now, how are the Cubbies doing?
They're doing all right. They won yesterday. Let me just go ahead and pull her up real quick.
While he's pulling it up, Twins are kind of in a slide right now. We're playing the White Sox in Chicago. We are what are we? 12-10. They played a midday game today. I think they were down, so probably going to be 12-11 by the end of today.
Little backtrack. Justin Tucker was a undrafted free agent.
Wow.
Oh wow.
And he may be the highest scoring undrafted free agent ever.
Of all time.
Probably will. Tom Brady.
He was
drafted in the 6th round.
Oh, he was?
199th pick overall.
Who was like a good quarterback that wasn't?
You're not going to find somebody who scored more than.
Oh, another fun fact about the draft. Sorry, we'll get right to the Cubs here in a second.
They're 15-60. They're middle of the pack in the NL Central.
Wow.
It's still early.
Maybe we've played more. Maybe the Twins have played more games. I thought that I saw the other night that they were 12-8 going into the White Sox series. Anyway, another fun fact, crazy to me. Alabama
Fired head coach basketball. Or
baseball.
No, baseball. Yeah.
Not that conversation is back on the draft. Had their first number 1 overall pick.
Yes,
ever.
that's wild.
Wild.
Mr. Young.
Yep.
I was actually watching the draft with these two dudes, and I made a Hall of Fame joke. They just went over everybody's head. I don't know if I said it too quiet. Didn't put enough emphasis on it. Bryce Young's dad was talking before the draft started, and I'm like, oh, who is this, Bryce Old? And Dallas tries to correct me. He's like, no, that's blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, that's Bryce Young's dad. Pops up on the screen. So whatever, Young.
I don't even remember who I said it was.
Dad. And I'm like, you're like, what was the joke you made? I'm like, I said it was Bryce Old. And he goes, oh, good one. I'm like, I was expecting more of a standing ovation, but
Before we get on to
pat on the
Burger,
back for the old joke, but
yeah. Before we get on to Burger, got a huge weekend coming. Scoochie's going to the Royals game, but we have a quick 9 at the old Madison National Saturday morning.
We do. We're trying to get Burger in, but he might be going home. If he's here, he's in.
Burger's probably going to be home.
Covington, Louisiana.
New Orleans that weekend, but yes.
Ooh,
same
even
place.
cooler.
Jazz Fest this weekend?
Wow.
Anywho, that's not the most exciting thing that's happening this weekend. I am playing in the Grip It and Sip It Invitational.
Can't say the coolest thing happened is what you're doing.
Sorry, that's the coolest thing I'm doing this weekend.
Sip it?
We were going.
Are you guys playing the Grip It and Sip It?
No.
We couldn't.
Well, I am.
Yeah.
Are you watching Lorenzo Cain retire as a Royal?
Probably not, because Royals are assholes and black that shit out.
I may be seeing the Lumineers.
No, that's Rob Manfred. If he wants to get baseball back, quit the blackout games.
No, it's not Rob Manfred. It's fucking Bally Sports. It's the TV rights to MLB. So, yes, it does have stuff to do with Mr. Robert. But
Meanwhile, I'll be listening to the Lumineers. So
I like the Lumineers.
Never heard of them.
Do they sing Ho Hey? That's good stuff. I've been trying to do it right.
Oh, yeah.
I've been living a lonely life.
All right. Anyway,
I'm just staying here.
on to the meat of our segment, or our show.
Sleeping in bed.
We got a former Division I athlete here.
Sleeping.
Transitioned to student coach at Mississippi State. Stop.
Sorry.
Burger was at Mississippi State as quarterback.
Now batting.
Stop.
Number 19. The quarterback for the Mississippi State Bulldogs, Justin the Burger Stolberg.
First and foremost, played for Coach Leach, who he talked a little bit about last week, as one of the coolest people he's ever met. In like very brief, what was it like playing for Coach Leach?
it was different every day you walked into the meeting room because you never knew where the conversation was going to go. It was football was football. We would watch the film, we'd get through all that, but between the times that we met, I mean, you could go off on a 5 to 25 minute long tangent. And so what everybody needs to understand too is like when you go to team meetings, they usually start on time. Everywhere else I've been, there was not a team meeting that we ever had where he showed up on time. Practice was supposed to start at a certain time. Well, depending on how long the quarterback meeting lasted, sometimes we got out to practice like 25 to 30 minutes after practice was supposed to start.
Good Lord.
So everybody's standing out there going, "Where are you?" And we'd have to run downstairs, get changed, put our pads on, sprint out to the field, and then you'd have to wait for coach to come. So then, 5-10 minutes later, depends what mood he was in, because if he wanted to go, he would, and then he'd go out to practice, and we'd start practice like 35 minutes sometimes after practice was scheduled to start. But the great thing about him is he knew so much and was a connoisseur of everything. I mean, if you wanted to talk about Yellowstone, if you wanted to talk about Geronimo, if you wanted to talk about, a foreign country, if you wanted to talk about policy, if you wanted to talk about, baseball.
Did he have anything to say about conspiracy theories?
Oh, he had so many of them. And the thing is he was such a unique an individual to where he didn't care what other people thought at all. Zero cares given to what people thought, and he was unapologetically himself, and that was the best part about him. And he was, awesome to work for. He respected you, respected your time, and, he was not a guy who was, slaving away or wanted guys to slave away in the office. Like, get what you need to do, get your job done, and get out. And that was kind of the way that our offense was and everything else. Like we didn't do crazy things, and we were who we were, and we didn't change for anybody else.
Was you're always curious about the older generation of college football. Was Leach into technology at all?
No.
So like other people had to run his phone and everything.
Yeah, I can't. Now Coach knew how to use it. But he wasn't I've never seen him use a computer. I've seen him use his phone. He had Snapchat for a little bit, and we were friends on Snapchat. And so like he would be able to use his phone, and he always would listen. So he was always listening to something. He had the wired in headphones and from Apple, and he would always be listening to something. In between stuff. So whether he's walking out to the field or in between meetings or going into a meeting, he'd have his headphones and he'd have his phone.
I saw Coach Leach being much like Schaff used to be, with it just blaring.
Yeah, no,
I could see that.
He always had his headphones in, and whether he was listening to podcasts, I'm pretty sure he was learning Spanish.
Wow.
And he man of many taste, to say the least.
What I mean, he's in that cameo of like the Friday Night Lights series, and then like just like interviews and stuff like that. He seems like he's hilarious.
Oh,
Is he funny?
he's what you picture like your grandpa who like just says what he thinks and has no cares in the world and just tells
hilarious.
jokes and like it. He it was a great time being in that room, and I was so lucky because I was able to. I mean, it was me and Will Rogers basically by the end of the year. We had some quarterbacks transfer out, and so it was us two like the last 4 or 5 games of the year in a room with him, every day. So it was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. He taught a couple classes, didn't he?
Yeah, he taught a class at Washington State. I think it was like tactics in the military and then the air raid offense. So
Did he
I think
do
it
that?
was like
Did he do any of that at Mississippi State?
So he did, but he did it after I left. So he did it this
Okay.
past.
I was going to ask you if you took his class.
He did it this past year. I know that Gardner and a few other guys took it, and I'm pretty sure Will was in it when he did it at Mississippi State. But I mean, it wasn't as like he had an actual class at Washington State that met at Mississippi State. It was kind of like a one night thing.
Oh, everybody on
like
campus
a seminar,
took it.
yeah, like a seminar type thing that you could sign up for. I'm pretty sure.
That's pretty cool. What? How is he to travel with? Because I have a guy that like obviously he's not Mike Leach, but there's my high school coach is like old school, doesn't still has a flip phone. What I would imagine Coach Leach would be like does his own thing. Is not going to change for anybody. What was he like to? Because I know how my guy that I would compare to Coach Leach was to travel with. And it's just like so old school. How is he to travel with? Like,
I mean, the good thing about that, we had a guy named Dave Emmerich who ran everything travel wise, and so he kind of just showed up and went. Wasn't really too particular. I mean, so every Friday night we would go see a movie. No matter if we were home or away, so we'd go to the movies, and we'd go see. They'd rent out a movie, and he'd usually pick it. And he was big into movies. So, and he stays the whole time. So, like, from trailers all the way to the end of the credits. So he stays.
When the lights turn on.
He stays and watches everything and reads all the credits. And so that was one thing that we did. And then we would do that, then go back to the team hotel, have the same team meeting every night on the road, or when we were to play a game that week. Same style. And it's the same schedule. Like, he was very, like, he wanted the same stuff done over and over, try to create the same schedule. But as far as, like, he was never, like, super particular. He kind of just went and rolled with the punches with it. And, again, that's just how he was in general, to where he was very, go with the flow type of thing. Like, there was times where we were waiting on him to do some stuff, but it's kind of his schedule, his time. So
he's a man in charge.
He is. He was the guy, man. I mean, things weren't moving without him. So, and the boosters love him there too.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got a all natural guy. It's
and
hard not to love somebody who stands up for what they're about.
And he would go out with those guys, and he would hang out with them, just be a regular guy. It wasn't like you're talking to like.
He's not a superstar. He just tries to be.
Not a superstar. He is who he is. He's not
yeah.
going to impress you or anything. Like, he's just there to, hang out and be one of the guys.
When you coached under him, what was your job, like coaching wise, underneath him and learning him, just like the knowledge that you soaked up from him?
So we had a conversation at the end of spring ball, and it was kind of along the lines of, "Hey, coach, like, if you don't think I'm in the top 3, I really don't want to waste this year just kind of like sitting. Like, I know I want to coach." And he brought the idea up to me and was like, "Hey, Justin, I know you want to coach. Like, have you ever heard of Lincoln Riley?" And that was his text to me. "I think you'd be great at doing this. Like, you're smart. I like having you around. Would this be something you're interested in?" And so, we talked, and I was like, "Yeah, I think." And so that summer kind of transitioned a little bit. was in the office, kind of just helping around, doing some stuff. And then that season, I worked with Steve Spurrier Jr. and the outside receivers. And with that, I mean, I helped, do some scouting reports and just kind of things behind. And then as far as during practice, would really help the receivers, and then watch film and stuff with Coach Spurrier as well as Coach Leach with some of the quarterback stuff that I was able to go to. But he didn't want me to. He knew that I already learned the quarterback stuff, and so he was like, "Hey, I want you to kind of go with a different group so you get a different perspective on it all." And so, getting the film in all.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because I had a defensive coordinator sitting in my office yesterday from an FCS school, a very respectable FCS school, and he, they had the ability to hire one analyst, and you'd think you'd want a defensive guy to be an analyst, but he's like, no, that's the exact opposite of what I wanted. He's like, I wanted somebody who knew how the offense could attack us. So I went out and, I found a guy who played quarterback in college and knew he was smart enough to do it. And he's like, it's been awesome because it's it's been able to fill so many needs in that on that side of the ball. But that's interesting you say that.
And the thing, I almost switched to defense at that time. Coach Arnett actually, he asked me if I was interested in switching to defense at that time. But Coach Spurrier had kind of already put in the bug that he wanted me. And so I ended up staying on offense, just switching to receivers. But I actually did get approached by Arnett as well at that time and potentially working with the defense. And I would have been working for Ryan Lindley, who was an analyst who we brought in from the Browns as the running back coach. He is now the offense coordinator at San Diego State. So we had a bunch of guys on that staff who are all over the place now and, who have been successful. So
that's pretty cool. As far as we talked a little bit about Leach. What about Mississippi State as a school and as a whole? Like, what did you enjoy the most about your time there? Probably outside of football.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe what's the biggest difference between that and up in Reston, Louisiana at La Tech?
Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with Starkville. It's a place that, I think is special for a bunch of different reasons. The people there are genuine and they care about each small town, southern country spot to where, they've got enough, but it's not like a big city. It's not like one of those like Baton Rouge or Tuscaloosa even now, to where it's Starkville and, the people there about you, they care about you and they don't even know who you are. Like if you go, are probably the things that we did the most often when we weren't playing football in the off season. We go to baseball games, and the baseball atmosphere there is second to none. It's probably the best in the country, and part of it's just because of the fans and the people. I don't think there's anywhere else that in the country that you can have a losing baseball team, and you're going to have 16,000 people show up to a game. They tailgate in the stadiums. They're called rigs. And so they'll grill and do some stuff, and they'll have some beverages out there that you can bring in before. And you can bring in a little, kind of a small cooler, and, you can bring in whatever in those. And there's people that, are all over the place. And if you know the right people, you get in one of those rigs. And you're in the outfield and you've got food, and it's a great time, great atmosphere. But I mean, for me, the reason why it was so special is the people I live with, the people around you. They made that place home, and I would love to go back there one day. And so hopefully my brother's there right now because he fell in love with it too. But it's definitely a place that where, it's special and somewhere that I'd like to get back to. As far as how it's different from Ruston.
For those of you that don't know, the reason we're comparing is because Justin transferred from Louisiana Tech up here to Butler and then obviously on to Mississippi State.
Yeah, I didn't spend as much time in Ruston. But when I did, Ruston's smaller. Not bad, but very similar atmospheres in places. Mississippi State just was a bigger place. And what I mean by place is like the school was bigger. Probably
More
not.
of a it's more of a school town too,
Yeah,
isn't it?
and not it. It probably wasn't as big, but athletics was bigger, and I guess I was older, and so it was a little bit different, but very similar as far as nightlife was the same. You go to a few bars that everybody else goes to. People were the same. It was small town vibe, and then I was lucky because both places we were pretty good at football, and so we had a established staff who would Skip Holtz was at Louisiana Tech, Mike Leach. The guys I played for are have big names in college football, and the staffs that I were around at both places were very good. So thankful for the time for each spot, but Ruston was a little bit smaller, but I think the same type of atmosphere. It just wasn't as big and profound as Mississippi State, just because, the year I was there, we won the College Baseball World Series, College Baseball National Championship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, that was pretty sweet, and then, being older, just knowing some of the guys for a little bit longer.
For those of our viewers that don't really know why someone would be at a D1 and then come to a JUCO just to go back up there, kind of explain your story and your circumstances of going D1 and then be like, okay, go JUCO, go back up to D1. Just
so kind of my story bounces around a lot. A lot of it has to do with believing in myself and betting on myself, and it's something that a lot of people are scared to do. But whenever I came out of high school, I played a little bit my sophomore and junior year, enough to garner some attention, but not to, be like, oh, we need this kid. I was still maturing and developing. By the time I was 18, my senior year of high school, I played my last football game. I played it at 165 pounds, so I was really skinny. I'd gone up and down weight wise, but I was really skinny. I could throw the ball, but I had to grow a lot. I actually was recruited as at a couple other schools, and then Louisiana Tech came in very late. And when I say very, very late, I had already graduated high school, and so they had a guy leave. My buddy and mentor had played receiver there, so had connection there. They needed a quarterback. They needed a guy to come in. So went there that summer, and then had some stuff happen at home. Ended up going home for half a year, and then kind of when I was looking at my options, so that's when the transfer portal just had started. So this is the brand new transfer portal, and I guess I was in the portal. But when that was happening, I got hit up by a couple places, but it wasn't as mainstream as it is today. You kind of had to go through. You had to log on to the NCAA website and go through it, and it didn't update like it does now. It wasn't a big thing, and as well during that time, in order to not sit out, you had to graduate from a junior college, and so some eligibility-wise stuff. So I ended up getting hit up by a few junior colleges, here, Mississippi Gulf Coast, Trinity Valley. It's all three different leagues, and then Mississippi Gulf Coast. My bad. Mississippi Gulf Coast is the one. I was actually going to go to Gulf Coast, and they called me and they wanted to set up a private workout, and at that point I was like, yeah, I don't they had just signed a quarterback who was a bounce back from North Carolina, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to come over there, drive an hour and a half to work out, and then tell me if I have a spot or not. With Trinity Valley, I just didn't know if the coaches kind of clicked when I was there, and then when I was coming to here, there's two guys. There's Carrick Sanders and Hunter Vaughn, who were kind of the main people in my recruiting process. Hunter Vaughn played quarterback and trained with QB Country, who I had been training with from sophomore year up. And I thought they did a phenomenal job developing quarterback, and without them I wouldn't have played quarterback in college. And so I was like, all right, if I go there, I know I'm going to get better. He's from the South. He understands kind of my whole life and situation. And then Carrick Sanders as well was from Georgia, and he was actually the first guy to hit me up from Butler. And then kind of Hunter Vaughn. And then I took a visit up here and was like, yeah, I mean, they win. Like they were a top 10 team in the country, I think, in 16. And I was like, well, I'd be dumb not to go there. So then get here, think I'm going to do, a semester or two and then be out of here. Didn't quite end up story-wise how I wanted to go. Got hurt in the spring after I'd first gotten here. So I was here that fall. We had a guy named Trey Self who ended up at Stephen F. Austin. And then after Trey Self, we were competing during the spring for a starting position, and I ended up tearing my ACL and my LCL, which kind of put some dampers on some stuff. Honestly, didn't know what I was going to do after that spring. I did not, after doing that, after getting injured, I did not plan on coming back to Butler. And so late in the summer, I had some things fall through with some schools that I was supposed to go to. Called Coach Veneri up and was like, hey, look, I don't know if I'm going to – I doubt I'll be the guy, but, is there any opportunity that I can come get some film? And, if something ends up happening and I end up getting cleared, we'll see what happens. I got some film that fall, and this is 2019, and weird thing happened. So LSU, I went on an unofficial visit down there one weekend, and had been talking to a few guys down there, and they were actually looking for a quarterback to come in. And so I was set to go to LSU during their whole national championship run, enrolled in classes there and everything. And then at that point, the same day I was at orientation for my classes at LSU to get everything set up and sign a lease, I see that Mike Leach is going to Mississippi State. And I call my mom and I go, Mom, Mike Leach is going to Mississippi State. And she goes, well, it's great for Mike Leach. What does it mean for you? And I was like, I don't know. My whole goal was to play in the air raid and learn from him. And, I'd always wanted to do that. And so, I went home that weekend and I did some research on a bunch of stuff. And the last day to enroll in classes was the following Monday. And so this is a Friday. The following Monday is Mississippi State's last day because they started classes before everybody. And so I have a long conversation with my mom. I drive up Sunday night. I stay with a friend in Starkville who's there. I get enrolled the very last, when I went to get enrolled, you could no longer enroll. And so they had me get special request forms from all these different teachers. And my head coach in high school, or my offensive coordinator in high school, he played in the air raid for Matt Mumme. And his son was the quarterback coach, and then the GA was Mason Miller. And so Mason Miller, who's now was the offensive line coach of Mississippi State, now the O-line coach at Tarleton, was there. And so he had just gotten there, and so I had a meeting with Mason Miller and Jay Perry over there, and they were looking for quarterbacks because, again, they needed a bunch, and ended up going there, started working out and doing everything with the team late, me and two other guys who were transfers from junior colleges, and then COVID hit, and that's kind of, up until my story, but, and I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to play there and do some things that, I don't think many people would have thought I could have done, and I think that goes into just believing in yourself and kind of fighting for your dreams, and, that's something that I'll stand on with that. But it was a wild journey to get there, but, I mean, at the end of the day, I was, at one point I was the backup in Tuscaloosa when we were playing Alabama, and I was a play away from getting in the game. So,
yeah, I mean, just to add on what you said, following your dreams and doing that kind of stuff. It's kind of crazy, when you take that leap. And you're like, there is no real answer. There's no for sure thing. But when you take that leap and you're like, this is what I want, I'm just gonna go do it. I'm basically gonna fuck around and find out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's when the best things happen. I mean, I kind of have a similar story, not with anything near on that scale, but with how I got into kind of my start in football with KU equipment. My email address literally got on the wrong list, and they ended up emailing me, and I kind of barged my way into an internship.
Took it and ran.
Exactly. So
It happened for a reason, man.
but that kind of stuff is crazy.
Yeah, and for me, it just came down to gut feelings, and I've trusted my gut on every I usually get a feeling, and once I know that that's how I feel about it, I don't look back.
It's got that taste in your mouth.
I don't look back. I don't get scared. I just put my head down and go to work, and I think that good things happen to the people who do that. So at least what I've been seeing. So
Absolutely.
Speaking of gut, this episode brought to you by Pepto. Just kidding. I'd be a sick
Gut feeling.
gut. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We must pay the bills while we're here, though.
Yes.
Appreciate you, Pop Scooch.
Yep. Still our loan
sponsor.
one right there.
couldn't do it without you, Pop Scooch.
Brent Wagner.
So,
Yep.
Wagner Lathing Corporation.
Lathing Corporation,
Appreciate you.
Wood Workshop, BT's Woodworks, BTWW. Dude, BTW, yeah. Because that's his initials, BTW, but then
Wow.
had the other W.
By the way,
Sister, called you. Sister hit him up. Finished the wood paneling in our new home up there in Wichita, and he came by and helped her out. So,
yeah, that stuff looked good, too.
yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of wood paneling because I like old stuff, and he was like, "Oh, wood paneling's gross," and my mom was talking.
Well, that
about
wasn't
sister.
legit wood paneling, though. That's
Here-
like your own manufactured wood
here's
paneling.
the thing, because my mom was like, you should have Brent.
It's almost like lap siding or whatever.
You should have your dad just do his own type of wood paneling. So it's real cool. It's
Like shiplap, or is it?
kind of. It's
yeah.
like one buys with a gap in there, kind of.
natural grain. It's real nice. It looks.
He
good.
left it natural. I didn't know if he's going to paint it or stain it.
Left
or
it
whatnot.
natural. I think she'll paint it whatever color she wants
Sure.
to do. But so yeah, dude, it's sick. They're going like this, boom, horizontal, and then the ones on the sides go vertical. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. And that's the first thing you see in the door. And one of the coolest things when they got the house, there's this sweet chandelier right there in the walkway. So I feel like
Do the swing from the chandelier.
Oh, that should be my song next week. It's on my turn next week.
No,
so
it's mine, so it can't be yours.
Absolutely. Hey, remember that.
I will. So,
No doubt.
well, that was an awesome segment. I loved hearing the stories, and I loved hearing about Mississippi State.
Truly,
One more question before we get out of here for the burger.
Absolutely.
First of all, favorite place to play in the SEC.
Ooh, that's it. Hey,
Second of all,
that's a good one.
rowdiest crowd in the SEC. That you can lump them together. It's kind of two questions in one.
Coolest place was Georgia. Georgia had the best atmosphere, in my opinion. Now, again, I think that we didn't get to go to Georgia the second year we had them at home, but Georgia's crowd is insane. And the whole atmosphere with the show that they put on, it's kind of what Alabama
Y'all
does.
play them at night?
Yeah, it's kind of what Alabama does, but they kind of put an exclamation point on what Alabama did. Alabama was pretty cool just because of history.
Sure. See, and this is going to be a bold take. Alabama's my state to recruit. Me and Coach Veneri went through Tuscaloosa, and I wasn't really a huge fan. So maybe it's just I was just there at the wrong time of year. I get it. School's out, whatever. But I wasn't a huge fan.
It's all right. I mean, it's not pretty. I would say I wouldn't say Tuscaloosa. I think Starkville is pretty. I think Athens is pretty. Auburn is pretty. I haven't been more to the East schools, but even LSU can be pretty.
I picture South Carolina being pretty. I think
picture South Carolina. Florida to me was not pretty.
Swampy. I mean,
Yeah,
they're in the
Florida
swamp.
wasn't pretty. If you're going by cities, Baton Rouge isn't pretty.
I'm just speaking campus alone.
Yeah.
Alabama was the town felt like it was filtered throughout campus.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's brand new. They have so many new buildings going up. It's crazy.
I think that's why it feels like towns filtered throughout campus, because they have nowhere to expand. So what do? They tear an old building down and they build right where it is, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. To me, Georgia was the best atmosphere.
Did y'all ever play at Neyland?
No, we didn't play there when I was there.
That's a beautiful campus too.
Now,
It's right on the river.
Yeah, I've heard from buddies who are from Tennessee. And
I've been there twice.
They say that they played there. I think their freshman year. They said it got pretty wild. I think the loudest, and again, like it's kind of watered down. Like when we played Ole Miss, I mean, it just means more that game. So I think that it can get pretty rowdy. But,
well, in Ole Miss, I mean, they've been down a little bit.
The rowdiest is probably LSU. I mean,
did they do the song Neck? Did they sing Neck?
No, that was right after 2019. Actually, I was supposed to be on the other side of those sidelines, but we kicked the crap out of them that year. That's when we opened up. KJ threw for 600 yards, broke an NCAA record, 7 touchdowns.
Good Lord.
But that was probably the rowdiest.
Now, one more question to feed off of that. Did you guys ever go anywhere non-conference?
First year we
obviously did. Bowl games. Yeah. What bowl games did you play in?
Played in the Armed Forces Bowl, and then we played in the Liberty Bowl.
Where's Armed Forces New York?
Armed Forces in TCU Stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So TCU's got a really nice locker room and a really nice stadium.
TCU is beautiful.
When we played there, it was 36 degrees and raining, so it sucked. But it was.
Why is that at TCU?
I don't know. And then the Liberty Bowl was in Memphis.
Another not great bowl.
Yeah, but we just had great bowl games when I was there. They had really good bowl games right before me and right after me. So the first year they went down to Tampa. And when I say first year, I mean my roommates. First year they went to Tampa, and then I think they went back to Tampa, and then they went Nashville, and then last year they went back to Tampa. So
who all did you guys play in non-conference outside of bowl games?
First year, no non-conference games.
Oh,
because of COVID.
Yeah.
We played Tulsa.
At Tulsa?
We beat Tulsa in the Armed Forces Bowl.
Okay. I remember
next
that.
year, who did we played NC State at home.
Ooh, I bet going to NC State would be cool.
Louisiana Tech at home.
I feel like all those ACC.
Yeah, Louisiana Tech at home.
For crime.
I'm trying to think who.
Even then,
who was our away game that
guy
year?
Bounces around the South.
I was born to stay below the Mason-Dixon line. I'll tell you that.
I'm trying to ponder that question right now. I got one question just from being a former player, coach, and stuff like how things are here, where it's at the stadium or out back in the grass. What different practice fields do you have there?
We have 2 grass practice fields, and we have a turf practice field, and then we have an indoor. We only used the indoor one time in my whole time there.
Perfect.
Coach Leach did not believe in going inside.
Did you ever practice at the stadium? Was that a big thing at all ever?
We only practice in the stadium on Thursdays. So
Okay.
every Thursday depending on who we were playing. So if we played Kentucky, we practice on our turf. If we played somewhere
that's
grass, so if we were playing on grass, we'd practice on grass. If we were playing on turf, we'd practice on turf.
It's funny you say that because we practice when I was at Kansas, we practiced in the stadium every day with Beatty. We would camp, and maybe Mondays we would go up to the practice field. But basically, when you got into the meat of our work week, we would go in the stadium.
Where was y'all's facilities at? Were they next to
right where it is now? Yeah.
So was it easier for y'all to go to the stadium or for the practice field about the
They're
stadium?
right next to each other.
Yeah.
Literally, you walk one way to the to the turf fields, and you walk. It's about the same distance, honestly, from the facility. Not the locker room door, I guess, but.
So we would have to bus to the stadium.
Okay, that makes a little.
Yeah, you definitely did do that at KU.
Well, but when Miles got there, when Les got there, his big thing, he was doing all those Dr. Pepper commercials and all that stuff. But before that, his slogan was, I eat grass. So we'd go over to and we did not everything at the complex was turf. So we'd go over to the freaking soccer practice fields, to the grass, and we had portable goalposts and all kinds of stuff.
What would it
way over there, all the way on the other side of campus.
I'm trying to think. Big 12.
Basically right next to Allen Fieldhouse.
I know that K-State has turf. KU has turf.
Everywhere. OU has grass. Not everywhere.
Texas has turf.
Texas turf. TCU turf? No, TCU's grass. So let's name the grass here. TCU's grass, Iowa State's grass, Oklahoma's grass. That's the three.
So everybody else is turf. So
West Virginia has turf.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State has turf. K-State has turf. KU has turf. Texas Tech has turf. Texas has turf.
Yeah, so
that's all of them right there.
Practice because again, I think
Les would never practice on the game field. He said that's where we play games. That's not where we practice.
And I think that probably comes from from Death Valley. Like,
well, yeah, but he has a reason not to practice there. Like,
yeah.
You don't want to screw up the grass.
Our turf management crew hated us.
Yeah, I mean,
because they would paint. We would go out and practice, and they'd have to repaint.
Why would you?
Because, well, again, you got to listen to our head coach. He does what he does and does not care.
Well, here's the other thing.
I'm saying for their sake, why would they paint knowing that you guys are going to go right back out there?
You have to paint or there's no lines on the field. You mow once and the lines are gone.
Yeah, they had.
You know how evident they show on TV?
Mississippi State's grass?
Yeah. How evident it is on TV, it does not look that clear in person. Like when we went to OU, they're like out there pregame painting the end zone stuff. And it's like, it looks faded, but on TV it looks like bright and vibrant.
Ours, so we'd paint, they'd paint, we'd practice, and then they'd repaint on Friday and get it all done. But
the one
our turf manager, like whatever that degree program is, we have a special one at Mississippi State for like turf management.
I'm sure every SEC school has grass.
I mean, it's pretty nice. It's a pretty good program. Because it's different types of grass, like different how to grow different. It's crazy.
Well, I'd rather practice on grass, player wise.
Yeah, I like the grass.
Feels better in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's just when you
grass.
The real and again, it's the real problem is when you have to switch surfaces
so often.
It can really mess up your feet and your ankles. And, and you see a ton more injuries that way. I mean, at least we have.
Shin splints.
Better on the
turf
joint
toe.
if you're natural grass, you know.
Yeah, and that's why they've gotten, people have gotten hurt just playing on turf just because it's not as forgiving. It's
not give as much.
Although when I did tear my knee up, I was on the grass, but I think I would have.
You would have tore it either way. You would have tore it if you had tennis shoes on and concrete.
Yes,
I tore mine for some.
I mean, honestly. So. Yeah, no, that's going back to the turf management. Like those turf management guys are nutcases. Anal.
And they're so specific about it all. And like, I get it. It's just, it's tough. Because, dude, they have to, and it's so meticulous to how it's planned out. And like, at that stage, like, it's crazy.
Well, the biggest thing is, and I don't know how Mississippi State's field is set up, but like you got to be able to grow grass in the dead of the summer, but you also have to grow grass when it's 30 degrees.
Yeah.
Not necessarily at Mississippi State, but like think about the Chiefs. Like they don't play.
So that's where it comes into like they have different genomes and they can alter.
Well,
and like
it's two different kinds of grass, and one goes dormant when one pops up, and. Like, at least I know that at the stadium in Wichita, that I learned a lot just in my off season working with the grounds guy. But if you stand up in the press box and you look down on the field, it's like mixture of two different colors of grass. Yeah. You don't see it when you're watching the game because you're not high enough up. But like if you really look at it, you can see two different kinds of grass just as they're changing. Like
it's kind of like. This is kind of weird, but it was a connection here. My shop teacher when I was in middle school was a bricklayer, and he was saying like bricklayers, you got to be real good at like finding stuff out if like when you're measuring it and things are switchy. So he's like, I'll drive by a house and I can tell that like 1/4 inches of these bricks are shaved off the higher it gets because they didn't do the right measuring. So to the naked eye, like guys like us, we're like that looks good, and he's like, no, that's messed up. Like he said, that doesn't look good, but. There's my connection where, like, to like a normal person, you're not looking at the grass like, oh, that's two different grass. But to some guy like that, like the grounds dude, would be like, oh yeah, they've.
Well, and the other thing that they do is, they can, and I'm telling secrets It's probably not a secret. A lot of people just know it, just not the normal common folk. When they spray, they actually put some dye in their spray to blend it too.
Yeah.
So
like when they spray,
so it'll blend in a little bit too.
They're almost painting the grass.
Essentially. Now, the first rain that we get, it's going to wash right off, but that's just when they spray again. So.
Well, I could have guessed that they sprayed grass.
Yeah.
I figured they did that everywhere. That's what
Why
wouldn't you? I don't know.
I feel like they do it. I feel like it's more prevalent, like, again, the further you get away from the south.
Now, the cool thing that the Kansas City Chiefs have, they can literally grow grass as it's snowing because they have a field heating system.
Nice.
Now, the one thing that hurts is like
Jalen?
What? He hurts? No, it's when there's not a lot of sun. Now that obviously.
Oh yeah, you can't.
Yeah, one thing that they can do, and I learned because the year I was at the stadium in Wichita, we actually played a football game on it. We had to take the infield down like an inch and a half and lay sod over the infield, and eventually they played a game on it. Well, what you can do is have these things called heat blankets. And it's literally like a blanket you put on the ground. It's not a blanket, but it's almost like a light tarp.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they put it on the ground, and it actually keeps the ground temperature like 15 to 20 degrees warmer than what the outside air or what the ground that's not covered up is.
Yep.
So actually, and the sunlight seeps through it essentially. It's a lighter bearing color, and the sunlight can show through, but it keeps the internal temperature of the ground warmer. But enough of science. Burger, we appreciate you being on here. Appreciate you. Burger was headed to the gym, so either we helped Burger or we just wasted Burger's time.
Either or, we're glad he had him. We had him on.
Either way, we're glad he turned around and came back and trusted us when we said that he was our number one guy for the pod this week.
Burger, you're the guy. Come to the stewed.
Anyway, big things happening tomorrow. We got our spring game, caps off spring practice.
Spring pracky.
Excited about that. Hopefully we have a good crowd. I imagine here's what I do think. It's Friday. I think we'll have some coaches out there, more coaches than we've had in the past spring games when we've had it on the weekend because they'll travel Saturday morning rather than wait till Saturday night at the spring game and then go.
Got kids camp tomorrow.
Yep.
Should be fun and get the boys rocking.
Absolutely. So we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We appreciate Burger being on here.
It was lovely being here with you guys. I'm glad we could kick it with the boys.
Yep. It's been a lot of fun. We got hopefully, so next week we're going to be off a little bit more. We're going to play some more golf. Get a little bit more guy time in rather than guy time at the office, guy time on the links. But anyhow, appreciate y'all hanging with us. As always, like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and we will see y'all next week. Appreciate y'all.